And it is a night walk with Shanka Ponsley and
Andrea Ferguson.
for the Shank Show. And tonight, yes, it is dark, so yes, we are streaming this live because it gets your attention, but it was recorded the eve before, okay?
He's been wanting to say this for weeks.
Yes, and if you want to know how to do that, join Shanks.club because that's where I reveal these things.
Oh my goodness. Well, the cat's out of the bag.
Yes, okay, so anyway, the topic is we want to talk about people that have left an impression with us and that have contributed to our success in what we do right now. And it's something that I briefly mentioned this morning in a shorter post. Andrea, did you get to doing yours?
Why would you put me on blast like that?
So, because you were so busy, I mean, I totally understand. We had
the day is not over.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane. Like, wait, we started at 5 a.m. and it is 10.
And he really
now.
started like, okay, so
Yeah.
by 5:20 I was finishing my first task on my computer. Like, I think there was bathroom. I got a drink of coconut water, which, by the way, we need to get some coconut water. And then I was on my first task.
Okay.
So, like, we we've been going like the Energizer Bunny here. Did we take a nap today?
No.
These are not things that I'm like.
No, this is not recommended.
No.
But we just right now we have to. So.
I want to say something before you.
Tell me.
Okay. So a pre-start.
Yeah, you can go first, by the way.
Well, I was just going to say to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's and dementia and really probably every ailment, you should go to bed on time. Ooh.
Okay. Crossing.
And if you don't go to bed on time,
oh no. Oh no.
Then you'll be at risk for all kinds of things happening to you. So do not try this at home, folks.
No.
Don't recommend it, kids.
Don't sleep like we do. Don't cross the street like we do. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. But these are not everyday things. And
No.
This isn't like our goal either. It's just sometimes there are exceptions to be made because there's follow through to what you promise, right?
Yeah. Well, wait a moment. What is are you gonna tell us the impactful people now, or do I have to go first?
Me, myself, and I. I am my most impactful person now.
Really?
Yeah. I think, I asked my sister about a couple of weeks ago. I guess just we had sat down and we had a heart-to-heart. And I asked her, so what do you think of me now compared to...
Oh, you did?
When? I did.
That's so interesting.
I did. And in a nutshell, she said people evolve. And I think
what does that mean? Is that a good thing?
Well, I'm not the same person that I was. So whatever trajectory I was on is kind of irrelevant because people evolve. So I came here and I had a different objective. I was going to work with the state, as you know that.
Yep.
I had an interview and then a second and then a third.
But you had to ring my doorbell.
I had to ring your doorbell. And I haven't left since, actually.
Yep.
So there will be another date for that.
For that story.
Yeah. So basically, I think I've watched myself and I've been very true to myself to the point where there has been like some really painful decisions to make. And I did them anyway. And I really do look at myself as a motivating factor to do what I do because I want to be the best person to myself that I can be. And that means like sometimes we judge ourselves too hard because we had planned on X and then Y happened, or we chose a different route, or maybe it's the same route, but again, there's some evolution. I wouldn't say I'm completely outside of the realm of what I had intended to do, which was work in the area of public health and the healthcare space. And
I would argue you impact more people health-wise now, since we are focusing on healthcare and wellness.
that's how he nabbed me.
Oh no!
No, it's absolutely true. And I think that's not all me. So the second person, it just sounds so arrogant, but the second person, I'm just very confident. The second person is my grandmother really impacted me with the consistency that she
And the
showed me,
persistency.
and the persistency.
Andrea thought, by the way, that persistency is not a word. And then we had to look it up.
What is this persistency?
Turns out, type persistency in the chat.
And the third
if
person.
you use it, okay? Now, I have to admit, I thought myself that it was just persistence. But persistency is a word. And type in the chat persistency if you use it. Okay.
So my grandmother taught me a lot through her actions. I didn't understand them for a long time, why she behaved a certain way, until I recognized the time period that she grew up in was really rough. And there were some defense mechanisms that she learned along the way to help her cope with the time period that she was living in. And so that is like, I learned patterns of behavior to emulate, and I learned things to disregard because we're no longer living in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s anymore. We are in 2022, and
we are in the 2000s though. Oh, in the yeah.
We are in 2022, and there's freedom. There's a lot of things that I learned. She always taught me, as well as my mother, to continue my education. My grandmother, unfortunately, her pursuits were stifled a little bit because of a lot of reasons, but she's so smart, and she didn't have the same opportunities as I did. And I think I don't think I'm unique in that situation, but she definitely impacted me and made me want to do things that she wasn't able to do. I traveled a lot of countries. I traveled for years, for like well over 10 years.
I'm gonna travel soon.
Go ahead, Mr. Shankar.
I'm gonna go to Bali, Indonesia, and if you want to get a behind the scenes, you have to join Shankselt Club, because I'm gonna meet a billionaire there. And if you want to know what I learned there, you gotta join.
I just realized that people may not even have been able to hear me because
I've paid attention to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So the third person is my little nephew, who is not so little anymore.
I thought Grandma was the third person.
No, okay. I was the first. Grandma
okay.
was the second/mom.
Okay.
Because everything I learned from my mother, I got from my grandmother.
And then the third person is me. Oh, no.
I mean,
no,
that wouldn't be too far from the truth. But in the interest of this episode, I'm going to say that it's my nephew. He definitely, little curious soul, and had like the ability to use critical thought at a very young age. I mean, like,
really?
Yeah. I mean, there would be like a leaky faucet, and he'd be like, he was my father's shadow, we called him. So he would put his, I can't use my gestures if you don't have your hand holding this.
Oh.
Yeah, he's trying to make me do all the arm work. So, you know, if something was broken, maybe it was a leaky faucet, maybe it was something else, he would try to, and he'd sit there like a 50-year-old man trying to figure out what was going on. And he's like, let's see, we got this going on. Maybe it's that fire hydrant, or maybe it's, he would just really think a lot. And I realized that I wanted to help create a space for him to grow and continue to explore his curiosities until his school years, and that I tried to...
I can hold it.
All right. So I tried to do what I could to make sure that I could be there to help guide him, which meant that I needed to take care of myself. It was this whole idea of, when I'm better, you're better. When I have everything sorted, like I was pushing and pushing to get a master's done, and I just so happened to... he became my responsibility, right? So caretaker sort of fell into my lap, the primary caretaker. And I learned a lot. I learned so much about not just mothers, but aunts and uncles and all of the people who care for a child. Like, you just get a lot of respect and empathy when you have to deal with the day-to-day and still try to take care of yourself. So I learned how to master that pretty quickly, and he actually helped me to focus so much, because I live by my calendar, that I got a distinction in my dissertation, which was one of the final components to me getting my master's. I remember I had talked about it before, so I won't go through it again, but I gained a different kind of weird empathy. And I feel like he was one of the really big drivers in helping me to, I guess, just push no matter what. I knew that if I could take care of this kid, and I could...
Right, I'm just realizing something that will make you not happy.
Oh my God, it's
there's
ridiculous.
not gonna be coconut water tonight.
Oh, why did we do such a thing?
Look how I'm so glad we're recording this, because
if this were mango, he'd be in an entire uproar. Because it's coconut water. It suddenly doesn't matter as much. He probably knew this 10
No,
minutes
I didn't
ago
realize
that we were
it.
nowhere near a store
I didn't realize. I forgot that we live in times where everything closes earlier. Because you used to be able to go to the store until 1 a.m. and now we all have...
what he did to propel me into that. Well, all my part is then.
Okay. So, my part now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So shout out to baby nephews that act as a catalyst. And
good job, baby nephew.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, I said that I would consider all the bad people I had to fight against during my law enforcement years. This group of people basically represents a group from whom I learned a lot, and I went into why. I'm going to repeat it. The first element is that, and this was of course during my law enforcement days, first element is that whenever you are in law enforcement, you really get used to people not really liking you all that much. There is of course the general population who's okay, some really like you, most don't care. But there's also those that you work with every day, those that you try to catch or investigate. They really don't like you, to the point that they even attack you physically, verbally, emotionally. They try to find flaws in anything and everything you do. And they can get very violent in that behavior. And that is something, being able to deal with these attacks. And in business, it's usually verbal attack or kind of an emotional attack as well, because people try to guilt you into things. Are you okay, Andrea? Okay. so in business, when you get to a certain level of negotiation and lots of monies are involved, and even sometimes if you have cheap clients, who just want to nickel and dime you, what they will do is they will attack you. They will attack your person, your integrity. They will try and question all your decisions. And a lot of people, they really succumb to that. That is a strategy that really works. Like a lot of great business people and negotiators, unfortunately, are so successful because they are ruthless in how they are able to attack you, attack your person, question your morals, and question, like, they will call you greedy, they will call you lazy, and all the things, because they know that that leads to you giving in, and then they get what they want. So I have gotten very resilient to that in my law enforcement days, thick skin, as they say, and it's been such a great skill to have in business, which is why, again, the criminals as a whole body, it really did me a favor in that sense, right? So the other part is I learned to take in a wealth of information, because each time when a crime happens and you find a suspect, you need to start an investigation, you need to question the witnesses, and truth be told, most people will try to inundate you with information that they think is relevant, and it's not at all. Like you want to know about the moment someone got stabbed, right? But they'll start with 10 years ago when the weather was great and the person, whatever, right? Or they really on purpose overwhelm you with information so that in the hopes of distracting you from what's really going on. And so in short, you have to be able to take all of that information and then distill the essential elements out of it, make decisions, write a report to the prosecutor that really only highlights facts and relevant items. And that too is something that is so valuable in business, to be able to look at a situation and say, okay, there's this and that going on, and in business there's always a whirlwind, but we'll do this because this is what ultimately is relevant to reaching our business goals. Last but not least, the third thing that I was taught by the criminals is, I dealt with white collar crime, but also really with the lowly of lowliest people, the murderers, the rapists, the people that would abuse their families at home. And you get to see some pretty ugly things. And you gotta be cut out for that work a little bit. But what happens is, like, whenever your shift is over, you need to take off your uniform and you need to go home and continue your life. You need to have good hygiene of the mind. You need to continue to work out. You need to continue to eat healthy and just have good mental hygiene. You can't always be thinking about the bad stuff. And in business, when you are an entrepreneur, there's a lot of, Andrea's pointing out the deer here.
There's a family. It's like
hopefully we can show them to you all. But so in business, there's really, being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest things that I have ever started, because you are just under constant pressure, meeting payroll, reaching goals, overcoming these obstacles, working crazy amounts of hours. Like today, again, started at 5 a.m. This is part of our work, right? So it is 11 p.m. now, and we have gone nonstop. And so this ability to let all the chaos happen and to take a break when it's needed, like our break starts as soon as we finish this recording, and then kind of get up in the morning and and be ready again to take on whatever challenges we have to take on.
Mm.
Just like as a police officer, you're never done with fighting crime, because it's never over. You can't eradicate crime. There's always a bad person who like comes into play. And so these three things, very, very valuable, and I'm very grateful in a sense that I was subject to all of these criminals and atrocities in a way sometimes. So there you go. That's just proof that whatever happens to you in life, it happens for a reason. And yeah. So
he's definitely a super zen person, because I mean, probably even before that, he had that personality anyway. You are that personality type that just is not easily roused. Just kind of the opposite of me. So that's challenging, because I find myself in situations where I feel like I just cannot seem to...
Is this LED light getting weak?
Yeah, probably. Or maybe just because we're next to more lights.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, it's pretty easy to know how I feel. And sometimes I would classify that under the category of authentic, and not everybody needs to know how you feel. But over the years, I definitely have worked on that so that I can honestly just conduct business better, because I think I haven't gone through the same. So remember I was telling you about my grandmother and her behavior, which is not poor. It's just she grew up in Jim Crow era, from Texas, moved to Arizona, and there were a lot of ways you had to behave in order to secure the safety of yourself and your family. And naturally, some of those things kind of passed down. Like, it took me a long time to learn how to speak up for myself, because speaking up for yourself could mean causing trouble, and causing trouble could make your life end, or your family unsafe, or you could lose your job, or get expelled from school. Like, there's all kinds of things that society was accepting as normal, but they weren't actually normal. We're just conditioned to be that way. And I think there's another side of that too, which is just complete emotional response to everything, like almost just reactive and offensive sometimes, or defensive, I should say. And there's a whole psychology behind that maybe I'll go into on my personal podcast, Make Your Mark, with Andrea Ferguson.
Hey, no plugs for
anything but Shanks.club, yes, which you should definitely join, and it's definitely getting dimmer. But yeah, so I don't know why. Oh, because,
this is such a good conversation. I think I'm going to upload it as a podcast, not just as a stream.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that can identify with what we're talking about. But the point is, like, there's a myriad of circumstances and situations, experiences that play a role in how you develop your personality and character, and your ability to withstand, like, resistance and resilience. Not resistance, but resilience.
Resiliency.
You just can't help yourself. Persistency it sounds like a made-up word. It just does. So anyway, your persistency tonight is... Well,
your resistancy.
So, resilience, right? There is a way to be resilient, and there's a way to... It just kind of comes back to what you were talking about with the way you play the game, like how you play the game, right? Mm-hmm. So you can play a good game, but like, how do you do it? Do you show sportsmanship? Are you like pushing, and you have a certain, like aggressive, whatever, even to your teammates? So, I mean, my grandmother is lovely, 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 lovely. So I feel like kind of awful for prefacing all of these. I'm just saying that I learned so much from her. Everybody talks about their grandmothers, and marvelous ways, and I mean, about them, they rave about them, and they are rave worthy. But there are also things that I learned from her because of the things that she went through. I started to understand myself. And I think that I was really motivated to make sure that I understood why I did what I did, and that that's what I want it to be. And obviously I'm not perfect, and there's still some things to work out. But there's a lot of other things, just kindness and generosity and always believing that people have your best interests at heart. I mean, those are some amazing traits. And yeah, I was just thinking about being Zen and how, like, keeping a certain, which is what everybody hopes, that the law would be neutral when dealing with them, you know, innocent until proven guilty, or treating someone with dignity and respect and humanity, even at the risk of you not being able to express your full emotions. Like, I know there's times when you're probably like, I know he did it. He has a knife in his hand, you know, but expressing that, showing that, acting on that is not appropriate. And it's a skill that you have to learn, how to not do those things so that people can, you know, so that there's due process. And the other thing I was going to say was, going back to my nephew, he believed in me. I mean, there was nothing that Auntie couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, you know, if I was ever sad or down or this or that, he'd be like, Auntie, what's wrong? And I would, you know, say whatever made sense for a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or 5-year-old. And he would say, but you can do it. You can do anything. You're Auntie Treya. You know, and these things, when you think of innocence and you go back to that, like, I don't know. I thought it was remiss to not mention that that really did shape me. I know that's really funny to get lessons from like a barely out of the toddler years, but I think for anybody that takes care of children, even like as teachers, even as professors or instructors, where you have that, I mean, gosh, I just made a really wide comparison, but you can learn from others, and you can learn from even younger ones or less experienced ones. And all of these things, all of these people shape who we are. But alas, I did want to mention you. And so, because I have a background where I always kind of wore my emotions on my sleeve, and I had you, who was super patient and always exhibited these characteristics.
It's so dark, gentle, they can't see anything.
I know. It really shaped the way that I do business, and always, you always put yourself in the shoes of the client, and you just try to do them right. And I have admired that from day one. I know that you want to give the best and deliver on goods, you know, like make your promise good. And you'll go through any length to make sure that that happens as far as your responsibility takes you. Mm-hmm. So I have admired that, because you do bring in that perspective of the, like, neutrality that you gained and arguably already had in how you deal with people, to just find the truth and go after the solution instead of like being distracted by, in my case, maybe, I don't want to sound like I'm like some super angry individual all the time, because I'm definitely not. It's just disappointments really hit me. I really want to make sure that everything goes well, and sometimes when things don't go as expected, you know, it's hard not to show that. But I think you always find a way to help us land on our feet and get the client where they need to be as much as we can do for them, you know. Mm-hmm. And so that has always influenced me, because you have so much integrity. Like, you just don't do shortcuts and you don't compromise. So yeah, definitely you go on the list of influencers in my life. And I almost did like a second one, didn't I? But I had to say what I did about Granny and baby nephew who's not a baby anymore. And that was it. That was my experience. All that I needed to be like, you can have them back now. And yeah, but not you. You don't get to be given back.
No, I won't be given back.
No.
Phew.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a long session. We rarely go. This was almost a double.
What was this, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I see a 3 there.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, if you endured to the end, let us know. Review this podcast or wherever you're watching this.
Yep.
Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on influencers in your life. What was the actual?
Yeah, just people that have made an impact on you and have made you a better, whatever you are now, business owner, mom, dad, employee, whatever you are.
All right.
All right. We are signing off.